He prided himself on being one thing and one thing only, a United States Marine. Lance Corporal Jeffrey Cole, a patriotic devil dog patrolling Marja, Afghanistan, when tragedy struck. His unit was ambushed by Taliban forces and his arm was shredded from multiple rounds of ammunition.
And I got shot before I heard the sound of the gun, which is bullets travel faster than the speed of sound, and you know that, but you don't really understand, until you get hit by it, what that really means. So I was very confused as to what was going on. When I got shot, I weighed 200 pounds at the time with all my equipment on. It picked me up into the air, moved me 5 feet to the left, and slammed me onto the ground in under half of a second. I've never been dropped so hard by anything in my entire life.
Wounded, bleeding, and confused, Jeffrey learned what no one wants to hear. The bullets had blown away parts of his left bicep and tricep, completely severing his ulnar nerve.
So Jeffrey suffered multiple gunshot wounds to his chest area, extremities, and had an injury to his left upper extremity consisting of a segmental nerve injury, specifically the ulnar nerve, and also had a soft tissue defect. So I was one of the reconstructive surgeons that was involved in Jeffrey's care in order to reconstruct not only the ulnar nerve injury but also his soft tissue injuries and perform limb salvage or limb preservation on his left upper extremity.
What Cole didn't know was that 8 days after the ambush, he would be one of the first patients in the world to receive one of the longest available nerve grafts. Physicians gave him two options, the nerve graft or amputation. For Cole, it was a no-brainer.
I was ready to try anything. He was like, hey, we got the surgery, we don't know if it's gonna work, it's experimental. We're gonna see if we can, if this does anything. So I was like, I'll give it a shot, I'll do it to keep my arm. So, what do I have to lose? Surgeons
performed Cole's surgery at Walter Reed National Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland. It was the first upper extremity surgery of its kind.
So this product that we specifically used in Jeffrey's case is Avance. Avance is a nerve allograft that's actually nerve tissue from a cadaver that's processed and allow for your own nerves to reintegrate into the nerve allograft from a cadaver.
The graft encourages the body to grow a vascular system within the gap and eventually becomes part of the patient's own tissue. It's essentially a 3D scaffold that bridges the nerve gap after an injury. The road to recovery wasn't easy. Cole endured physical and occupational therapy for 2 years, 6 to 8 hours a day, not knowing how much feeling he would get back in his arm. Then one day,
my arm and my hand felt different. I don't know a way to describe it. It just felt different. Just had some weight to it. It's a weird way to say it. And I squeezed it a little bit. I was like, oh, this is the first time I've done it in like 13 months. I finally could actually move my hand and grab it. And I cried. I was really happy about it. And so that was kind of the big, like, okay, this is working now.
There was a time not too long ago when an injury like Cole's would end in amputation. But thanks to Dr. Valerio and the nerve graft technology, one devil dog, armed with science, kept both his arms. Energy. It's one of our most precious commodities. It's expensive and absolutely required to get just about anything done. As demand for energy fluctuates throughout the day, the price of energy also fluctuates. And for large energy customers like military installations, that peak demand translates into a lot of money.
In 2011, the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Installations and Environment, Catherine Hammock, she said, well, let's push this energy initiative.
So what does that mean exactly? It means they're working to zero out all waste, water, and energy consumption. And they're taking aggressive steps to reach that goal by 2020, and it's already paying for itself.
We expect to save about $1 million a year on water costs because our potable water cost us about $7 a thousand gallons, whereas when we reclaim the water, we pay for it, but it costs us about $1 a thousand gallons.
Not so far away, the AirForce Academy is also getting in on the act, installing solar panels and taking many of the same initiatives to reduce their carbon footprint and zero out their waste. That means solar, recycling, and water management are all being addressed. It's a win-win situation. Energy costs go down, creating substantial monetary savings. Much of this progress wouldn't be possible at Fort Carson or the AirForce Academy without partnership with industry, helping build their renewables infrastructure.
They were privatizing their distribution system. So we worked with them very, very closely to rebuild 2 of their substations, rebuild their distribution infrastructure all the way down to their distribution transformers.
Colorado Springs Utilities qualifies for grants and rebates military installations don't. But by partnering with and working with Fort Carson, the installation is able to take advantage of those grants and rebates when they otherwise would not qualify for them. From generating renewable energy to processing and using reclaimed water, no area is off limits. These military installations, along with their industry partners, armed with science, are making the world a more renewable and sustainable place to live. They're slow, they're threatened, and they happen to live natively on a military installation about the size of Rhode Island. Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center, also known as 29 Palms, is home to over 11,000 Marines. It's also home to the threatened and federally protected desert tortoise. This presents a challenge for the Marines, who need to train, and the tortoise, who needs to survive.
So the Fish and Wildlife Service is monitoring these populations, and across the desert, populations are still declining.
Dr. Brian Heenan is an ecologist for the Marine Corps. It's his job to make sure everything possible is being done to protect the desert tortoise, and he's not alone.
Now, the various agencies and scientists are all concerned about the tortoise and are doing various things to help protect them and try to help stabilize the populations as well as their habitat.
Convoys and live fire exercises have a negative impact on the desert tortoise, and the Marine Corps knows it.
In order for us to train, we have to have access to this land. We want to ensure that the tortoise is here into the future, and we want to ensure that we have access to the land for training purposes, which is the priority of this installation, is to train Marines.
The solution to saving the tortoises is the Tortoise Research and Captive Rearing Site, also known as tracers.
And the way this works is the vertical fencing on the walls is fine hardware cloth mesh at the bottom to keep out the smaller predators and rodents. So that keeps out the terrestrial predators, but we have flying predators, hawks, ravens, eagles, and that's what this netting is about.
This particular location is the nursery, where they bring the desert tortoise here to lay her eggs and raise her offspring until they're old enough and strong enough to survive in the wild. To find the mama tortoises, researchers track them in the wild.
Alright, so that's the sound we want.
Tracking this female allows researchers to identify which tortoises are about to lay their eggs so they can be moved to the tracer facility so their offspring will have a decent shot at survival. Not far away, another team keeps a close eye on progress, taking blood, photographing growth, and making sure the tortoises are healthy and developing properly. The Marine Corps and scientists, armed with science and a lot of patience, protect and preserve the desert tortoise and ensure all the Marines can train to fight. It all adds up to a chance to thrive for the cohabitants of 29 Palms.